The Gong Show. The Gong Show. Got up to the horses. They busted up, bent that hook out. Put a temporary hook there. While I try to get the fencing done, while I try to get the shop done, while I try to get everything done. And I'm not sure which horse it is, but they know when there's something new, when some kind of a new barrier, they'll test it. And they test it and see if there actually is a weak link. And as soon as they figure there is a weak link out, they just use it. So I got to go feed, and it looks like, you see the mess out there behind me on the ground. They got into the haystack. It looks like they must have destroyed a couple bales anyway. Anyway, been too busy. I'm trying to get as much done here as I can. I tore out the whole front of the shop last couple days, and I have to close it in. And what I am trying to do is, myself and another friend of mine, Jeff, he was in a video. We went to his place, had the fire going, had a beer. This last winter. You remember him? And he is actually one of those ice road truckers for years. He's done all sorts of shit. Cowboying, commercial fishing, mining, ice road trucker. And he's a very well-informed guy. He's a very, very intelligent man. And he's also a fighter for the truth. And he asked me yesterday if I want to, or the other day, a few days ago, asked me if I want to go to Ottawa. And I'm like, well, you don't really have much of a choice, right? You look at how many thousands and thousands of Canadians are sacrificing their time right now away from home. Many of them are unemployed because of the irresponsible government actions, but what do? It's all coming out of, all the honest information is coming out now. And it's just the egomaniac politicians who are, for some reason, are preventing all of us from living our lives the way we're supposed to be. But anyways, I'm gonna, before I start going on a tangent, I'm going to copy and paste a link to a video that I hope all of you watch. It's 9 minutes out of your lifetime and just watch it. All right, and it is basically, it is honesty for the entire world, not just the province of British Columbia. It's very important. So Jeff had a rig lined up. We're going to drive across Canada and hopefully rally a second wave of people to fall in line and go there and do what we can to fight back. And I mean, obviously, do I need to travel across Canada driving for over 40 hours to go to minus 30 degree Ottawa? There's better things to be doing that. I could steelhead fishing and working on the farm and fighting from here, but somebody's got to do it, right? Somebody's got to do it. And there's a lot of tyranny going down against the people here in Canada right now, and the people of Canada are waking up and it's spreading around the planet. And the mainstream, the main media controllers are doing whatever they can to try to prevent this, but they can't. As long as everybody keeps stepping up to the plate, fighting back, they can't. And this is the time to do it. So I believe we're going to, I think Jeff found a motorhome. We're going to try doing the motorhome thing. I tried to book hotels in Ottawa, but apparently they're all gone, or they're preventing people from booking. So you can't stay and support the people. So we're probably going to rent a motorhome from Vancouver and then start driving across Canada. And we'll be live feeding the whole way. I'll make videos the whole way. I'll still share emails the whole way. I'll give you updates on the reality and the truth of what's going on in the world today with all of the people. Alright? But in the meantime, I might even show you what I've been doing up front of the shop. I've been doing all the work here myself. I'll do a load of work when I can, and I'll buy a bunch of lumber. I'm getting it direct from the mill. It's a little cheaper, and then when I can, I'll buy a load of wood, and then I'll put it on myself. And that's what I've been doing. All the work myself. I'll show you what I've done after this, possibly, alright? Now, what do we have? I'm going to go to the top of the list today, for the hell of it. So, let's see what we got. This is titled People's Bullshit. That's a different kind of title. Good day, Mr. Steve. It's the guy out in Massachusetts, Harry again. The guy who beat the cancer. Well, anyway, when are the jackasses going to leave you be? Well, they won't. But I want to offer you a way out. When you talk about it on your videos, they win. So, let it all wash right up your shoulders and don't even give it the light of day. All of us out here that are all in are all for you already know you will be ridiculed. You're a leader, not a victim. Don't act like one. You're way bigger than all that. Oh yeah. When people knee-jerk reactions to a certain topic that immediately just sets them off, right? You hear it all the time. Stephen, they are mentally ill. No more, no less. They need a mental health counselor and lots of prayer or kind thoughts. But they should be left out of the professionals, not you or I. They should be left to the professionals, not you or I. And lastly, why did you let the steelhead go? Man put a stamp on it and mail it to me. I'm going to try to help Sarah's dad when my SOC sec gets deposited. That's just a sad state being in his time of life for a shitty thing to happen like this. Much loving support for both of you, Harry. Harry, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I get it. I get it. And believe me, Harry, and thank you so much for the kind gesture towards Sarah's family. They're having a tough go over there. And just so you guys know, when I finally do crack open and say something about the douches online, it's after a beating. You know, the last couple times that I mentioned it was after, David Pilatus actually skipped going to a convention because of the threats, right? And my name was mentioned in there with association with Dave from the people that brought an alarm to what was possibly going to go down. I was beside myself. I wanted to cross the border and get to that convention so bad it was ridiculous. Meanwhile, Dave was cautioned to not show up, and he didn't show up, and he actually contacted the sheriff's department, and they refused to attend. And that was the only time, the only convention ever in the history of so many years, the local law did not attend. Whatever it is, what it is. But anyways, the stuff like that, that's what went down that triggered me the last couple times to somewhat stick it to them online. But thank you for those, thanks for the words of encouragement. I get it, I totally understand. And thank God you beat the cancer, man. You're a tough son of a bitch, right? And why did I let the steelhead go, to be honest? Steelhead here in the province of British Columbia are tragically in such serious, dire straits. It's so sad. Yeah, I don't want to kill one. I've got salmon and halibut in the freezer from the summertime, so I can't justify killing one. I want them to live and prosper. The people who are in control of the fish hatcheries here do not hatch and raise more steelhead because it's not financially viable, right? It doesn't bring the money that the salmon does. And furthermore, they don't really want the steelhead around because they eat the fry in the rivers like crazy. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to annihilate a species for the almighty dollar, and that is straight from the caretakers of the land, if you know what I'm talking about. The local ones who are running that hatchery. It's kind of sad, it's frustrating. If they actually fed the steelhead fishery and got that species back, this place would flood with people from all over the world wanting to come and battle one of these beautiful fish in our beautiful river. Whole nother topic, right? But that's why I let them go. I want them to live, I want them to survive and replenish. Now, what do we got? These are recent emails, all right? What do we got? Okay, let me mark this as red. Witness to the same Bigfoot I saw. Hello, Steve. Thanks for your efforts to prove Bigfoot is real to millions. Actually, I could totally appreciate that sentence, but I have to sort of in a way correct it right off the bat. I'm not trying to prove anything. It's already being proven. My main motivation here is to get the voices out who have had unfortunate in-your-face experiences with these things, had it thrown in their face, had to eat it, and are frustrated, but they've been belittled, sometimes lost their jobs. Families have questioned their sanity. That's what I'm doing here. I'm making sure that every single person who needs to get it off their chest gets it out, and they can do it through me. But the proof's been in for a long time. A long time. The proof's in. It's been proven. It's just a matter of whether or not people who choose to watch my channel and other channels similar to mine, it's just a matter of whether or not they will accept the facts or not. It's up to them. It's their own puzzle. It's their own ride. But here the facts are shared. And it's been proven. And right now it's just about the people getting it off their chest, getting their sanity and their respect back, giving them a safe place to share what's happened. I know he is real. He chased me across the Sabine River Bridge in East Texas in 2012. I'm in poor health and had to be put on dialysis machine this year, and it sucks. That does suck. One day I met a travel nurse who came into Temple, Texas to work at the clinic. She was from Carthage, Texas, which is close to the Sabine River Bridge. We were talking about Carthage, and I told her my encounter with the big black son of a bitch. She told me that her and her neighbors were being harassed by a Bigfoot, a black one. I told her, call the police, but she said they know about the creatures, but they only respond to life-threatening encounters. The Bigfoot bangs on the walls, tears up guards and fences, also peeks through windows and doors. Her husband has been running them off with a rifle. They may go to the television station if they don't get help. One day, though, she saw the police, sheriffs, and military were in the woods, and she heard at least 200 gunshots. The gossip is they killed 5 creatures. But we still get a visit from another creature. I believe her, and she is afraid for her family. Thank you so much for your program. They are real, and they're showing up more and more. God bless you, and thanks, Ray. Ray, thanks for the email, man. And if you want to tell her, if she wants to get a message out to the world, she can do it through here. There is a substantial amount of eyeballs and ears are here every day. We're talking to a shitload of people here, man. So if she wants to be heard, tell her to email me. All right? Email me exactly what she wants heard, and we'll get it out. Here's another one. Why Sabbath do what they do, and how to be at peace in the woods. All right, here we go. Dear Steve, my name is Lauren. You can use my name. I'm too old, too tired, and too close to crossing over to care what people think anymore. Good for you. It's too bad so many people wait until they're older to accept that fact, that it doesn't matter what people think. This is a little long. I timed it being read at approximately 11 minutes. Spell and grammar checked. Share what you want of it. It summarizes much of what we have learned here and a lot of what I have been taught elsewhere. Steve, also thanks for being a watchman on the wall and attempting to awaken people about this topic and others. The whole planet is undergoing an awakening about many things and the unseen. The ruling structure that has been feeding us lies and control for centuries is being exposed. Be encouraged. Humanity wins. Semantics. Steve, I know you have been an aversion to the word believe in relation to Sabbath accounts, encounters, etc. Let's clarify with respect by dictionary what the word means. To accept as true or real, to credit with veracity, to have an opinion, have confidence in the truth, the existence, or reliability of something, to give credence to. This does not exclude the word in relation to articles of faith or religion, but it does not only apply to the latter. Just so we're clear. Thank you so much for that. Gotcha. Argument in favor of Sasquatch. To me is utterly unfathomable that people can give the ego the arrogance to say there is no such thing as Sasquatch. They don't exist. To proclaim that the thousand upon thousands of first-hand witness accounts are either intentional deception, lying or hoaxing, or the inability to tell the difference between the poor and universally blamed bear, excuse me, by intelligent people, many of whom have spent decades in the woods as hunters, is insanity. Full stop. A data point I stated that there are at least 10,000 documented sightings sent into various organizations over the decades, and that your, Steve's, own claim of at least that many accounts having been sent to you. Do the math. That's approximately 20,000 accounts. If you ask one of these armchair experts, well, 100% of the nearly 20,000 claims are false. Watch. Wait for it. Do their eyes dart about a little panicky? They feel the trap but are too blinded by their own pathological arrogance and ignorance to avoid it. If they reluctantly admit that maybe even one of those thousands is the real deal, then all the denials, all the claims of fakery, all of the claims of nearsighted hunters who can't distinguish between a 7-foot hairy biped and a clumsy, furry-eared, long-snouted bear, the whole citadel of narrow-minded and irrational arguments comes crashing down. Why can't the deniers, the doubters, the debunkers just be honest? Why can't they just say, well, in my reality, they don't exist because I've never seen one? Or, I don't know. This is very different from saying, all you people are wrong and I am right. and Sasquatch aren't real because, well, because I say so. That's why. Or, Sasquatch isn't real because there is no proof, but there is proof. Physical proof that has been ruthlessly denied, minimized, mocked, marginalized, and outright suppressed in a very choreographed, systematic, and intentional way. Proof like hair samples, scat samples, DNA, footprints with unique dermal ridges like fingerprints. We all know it has been done, but the whys and whos are just speculative. There is no more lethal combination than arrogance mixed with ignorance. I have fantasies of taking one of these idiots up into the woods, tying them to the base of a tall pine in an active area and leaving them out there overnight, alone in the dark, no weapon, no flashlight. That's kind of extreme, but honestly, wouldn't you like to? I'm a 66-year-old grandma, retired RN of decades, and nearly lifelong resident of Oregon. I'm not a hunter, but have spent many days and nights in the woods. Although I've never had a full frontal visual sighting of these beings, I have experiences in the woods I can't otherwise explain. I'm not a genius, but I'm not a complete idiot either, and I have the humility to admit that anything is possible because we simply don't know all there is to know in this universe. There are nuts and bolts Sasquatch researchers, and to them, big hairy guys are just a kind of a glorified gorilla, an ape or a hominid. The belabored Gigantopithecus. But ask yourself this, has there ever been in the history of all mankind an animal, just a regular animal with animal's intellect that could successfully avoid human beings for centuries? And to add to that, has there ever been an animal that modern men have actively searched for, using all kinds of technological devices that could evade detection? Think about that. Oh wait, I would say no. In my humble opinion, Sasquatch may be flesh and blood, have the appearance of an animal, and eat, poop, mate, and be killed, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have some very unique abilities that some would place in the category of paranormal. Perhaps survival and communication skills and abilities developed, evolved, and perfected after thousands of years living in nature without the benefit of iPhones and satellites. Battery draining, ability to camouflage self, disappearing trackways, glowing eyes, orbs, and mind speak. There have been thousands of these accounts, and the nuts and bolts researchers are just as quick to discount and mock these testimonies as non-Sasquatch believers are to discount and mock the nuts and bolts Sasquatch hunters. You would think this latter group would be more understanding, having been at the receiving end of the ridicule. But then again, that would require personal insight and honesty. And remember, the magic or sorcery of centuries past, the paranormal of today, are simply labels and are just aspects of the quantum physics and we don't yet understand, or components of our own consciousness we have not yet mastered. Mankind will learn that everything in our reality is about consciousness, energy, and patterns of vibration and frequency. The ancients knew this, and it is being rediscovered. Perhaps someday, the findings of physics and the spiritual realm will not be so different. 500 years ago, speaking about invisible rays of energy or unseen organisms that cause disease would have put you on a burning stake as a human hot dog. Humans are just drenched with fear about anything they can't understand. Are all Sabbath evil demons, or are they like humans, and or encounters with them define who they are to us? Okay, quit it. You're not getting out. Alright? It's not going to work. The First Nations people were not that different from us. If they had negative encounters with hostile Sabbath, they characterized them as demons or cannibals. When their encounters were benign or even positive, they viewed them as wise elder brothers. Read through the dozens of First Nations stories I have, and you will see a broad range of beliefs about Sabbath, from outright terror to an almost reverential respect. Also, Sabbath have been divided into two broad categories. The ancient ones were benevolent, wise, more human-like, and highly telepathic. Legends state that in the distant past they traded and interacted peacefully with some First Nations tribes. The other group are described as having a more Down syndrome type of face, primitive looking, and were largely hostile and aggressive, even cannibalistic. So, are any Sabbath evil or bad? You bet there are. Like humans, they have their psychopaths and misfits and criminals who would just as soon tear your arm off and beat you to death with the wet end than use it as a spoon to eat pine nuts out of your skull. I recently heard a very credible decades-old account from a retired RCMP that a specialized kill team was sent out to eliminate some male Sabbath that had kidnapped human females and children and even produced feral hybrid children through rape. We have every right to defend ourselves against and eliminate such dangerous beings, but there are, like humans, probably more just wanting to be left alone to their lives in peace. Now, when you label or characterize an entire species like the Sabbath as demons or Nephilim or fallen angels, it is just a few rational steps to justify eradicating all of them. Look at the pit bull species of dog. Most I have met have been big drooling marshmallows, yet they are legally banned in many places. I've personally known a lady whose arm was chewed completely off at the elbow by a pit bull. She knew and was dog sitting for friends. No warnings, not a hint of aggression ever. The dog only released the stump that was her arm after the arriving police put 4 slugs into it and killed it. Ouch. Even at that, I'm smart enough to know this was a completely tragic anomaly, and I would never be stupid enough to assume that all pit bulls would act this way. The Nephilim non-connection. Excuse me, I just ate breakfast. I have read all 3 translations of the Book of Enoch, cover to cover. I spent decades reading and studying my Bible cover to cover between going to church 4 times a week. But I've changed and grown over those 50 years. I'm more spiritual, less dogmatic, less judgmental, and my personal faith and connection with my Creator is even richer. I could, but will not, decimate the Nephilim connection to the Sabbath with actual biblical dissection using the original languages of Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Aramaic and Greek. Sorry, you guys. In all myths and legends, there are grains of truth. Just use a data point. The giants of the Book of Enoch were described as hundreds of feet tall, slightly larger than Sabbath. Let people believe what they believe. All voices need to be heard, but honestly, I'm rather wary of the ill-founded and often sent in Nephilim connections and Bible poundings. And I respectfully disagree. The reasoning is called inductive reasoning, or the act of using specific scenarios and making generalized conclusions from them. In this case, it is that the Nephilim are described as giants. Sabbath are a type of giant, therefore Sabbath are Nephilim. Mystery solved. And this makes about as much sense as finding a striped fish and insisting that they are descendants of zebra because zebras have stripes. But then again, tigers have stripes, so maybe tigers and zebras are related. Only 4 possible conclusions. So to summarize, more nicely, LOL, there are only 4 conclusions one could draw out about this phenomenon. Number 1, all of the accounts are lies, intentional deception, and hoaxing. Number 2, all of the accounts are misidentification. Number 3, all of the accounts are a combination of 1 and 2, lies and misidentification. Number 4, some of them, maybe most of them, are true. Witnessed accounts of a phenomenon, as Steve puts it, that honest, hard-working people have seen and have been mocked into silence. I'm going 4. Why Sasquatch parallel paces people out of the woods. Sabbath are definitely faster and stronger, but killing one of these hairless hunters with the killing tubes would just bring more invaders into your area. Maybe military airships and door-mounted guns. Well, I would think instead you would try to scare the hell out of them. Scream, break trees, pummel them with infrasound, and escort them out of your area. No one really gets hurt. Message sent. Maybe it is not so much aggression and hostility as it is protection of those that they value. Also, since I think the number 1 priority of these people is food acquisition, would it hurt to offer them a bit of your kill, a heart or liver, as a way to just be respectful and polite to them and to reinforce the idea that you mean them no harm? That small gesture may go a long way to ensure your safety. You aren't bribing them, you're just being a good neighbor. Are Sabbath like autistic people? If they are a different kind of people, they may have different value systems. Their brains may be wired differently. To peek at humans through their windows, or slap the side of their homes, or toss pebbles at campers, or help themselves to a few chickens or garden cabbages may be harmless in their minds. In Native American cultures, there is a practice known as counting coup, pronounced coup. In actual battle, the warriors would race by their opponent and bloodlessly smack them. It was not uncommon for the young males to practice war games like this. It was war without the blood, and to escape without a wound was considered prestigious. I wonder if the adolescent males among Sabai don't engage in some kind of war play with humans. To humans, it's usually terrifying or maddening. There have been many accounts of the people in those situations either being counseled by wiser heads or figuring it out that simply telling the Sabai that this is frightening and distressing to the humans and to please stop has achieved the desired result, and the Sabai simply stop. They're described by Owlman as being like an autistic person. Some of the character traits of autism are, number 1, extremely literal black and white thinking. Subtlety. Innuendo. Go right over their heads. You must tell them exactly what you want, short, sweet, and to the point. Number 2, obsessive compulsive behavior. They get fixated on people, places, and things. If you have made contact, it may be hard to break that connection. This also translates to group or clan loyalty. Be assured, a Sabai will almost never be alone. You see one and there is most likely 2 more in hiding. Shoot one without a real threat and you will have a real problem on your hands. I full on agree with that one. Number 3, expressing emotions differently than humans. They do have emotions. I believe they love their mates, offspring, and clan members, but they may demonstrate and prioritize them differently than us. Number 4, low frustration tolerance. Very short fuses, tend to have meltdowns and tantrums when pushed beyond their comfort zone. Accounts of benevolent Sabai. I've read many accounts of Sabai saving and helping humans, carrying injured humans out of the wilderness to human help, returning lost children, defending humans against predators, etc. I've personally experienced the presence of demonic beings. I can assure you, they will never act out of compassion to another living thing for any reason. The following 2 short accounts stand out in my mind. I've recounted the details of these accounts to the best of my recollection. A man, his wife, and infant daughter had gone out of state to visit the in-laws. Dad 1 car, wife, baby in another. On the way home, a bad storm hit. Tornado strength, winds, and rain. The wife with the baby in the back seat, infant bed, before a daze of car seats, were hit by winds strong enough to flip the car into a rain-swollen ditch. The dad was following but stopped when a tree fell across the road, blocking him. Mom managed to claw her way out of the upside-down submerged car and immediately tried to reach her baby but couldn't. In the sheets of rain and wind, a huge 7-foot-plus hairy figure appeared to the rear of the car. The giant, a female, viewed the situation for a moment as the mother wailed and clawed at the car, door jammed and baby out of reach. It seemed to know that the mother was screaming, my baby, and leapt into action. With long, massive, hairy arm, it reached into the back seat, sweeping the water by, and fairly quickly brought the baby out. Its tiny form swamped by the massive hand and completely limp and lifeless, lips blue, skin a waxy white. It looked at the infant for a moment, her face and eyes softening. It took a huge index finger and gently compressed the tiny chest a few times. Small geysers of chocolatey water sputtered out of the baby's mouth. It gurgled, then coughed, and finally wailed. The giantess smiled slightly and handed the baby back to the now speechless, astonished mother. The hairy female put her hands on her hips, arched her back, face to a now calmer sky as if saying, this is a good day, and as quickly as she appeared, she disappeared into the tree line where the human mother then heard many voices, joyous and in chorus, whooping and yelling. Dad had frantically struggled to get his car around or over the downed tree and had witnessed much of what happened from a distance. Those are sane, intelligent people. The little girl survived, sustaining mild physical deficits from oxygen lack, but mentally was okay. She graduated from vet school and became a primatologist. Every year the family leaves a big basket of fruits for the forest people as thanks. They are not Sasquatch fanatics and never became researchers. They were knowers of the very deepest kind. I've read many stories. Had to move into the shop. It's freezing cold by the hay and the cold air is coming through, and I think that's why the camera keeps shutting off. So I got the camera sitting in the sun, and I'm in the shade right here. I'll get this rest of this share out more smoothly, I hope. They were knowers of the deepest kind. I've read many stories like this. One female Sasquatch, a member of a long-term clan on a deep southern farm, raced to the rescue of a little boy, grandson of the farm owner, that had barely managed to get up a small spindly tree to escape the giant and viciously charging Brahma bull the farmer kept for breeding. That female sprinted towards that bull in unbelievable speed, came around it, and with one massive punch to the head, so powerful it spun that 1,000-pound bull 360 degrees and killed it on the spot. She then carefully lifted the petrified little child out of the now almost horizontal and bull-battered tree, his whole bottom fitting in her hand, and she gently put him on the ground. She then patted him on the butt, pushing him towards his grandfather, who was frantically racing across the field in his old truck. Then she vanished from the tree line. The farmer had a mutually respectful relationship with these beings for decades. Now you tell me all these creatures are demons? So to sum it all up, Sabe are sentient beings. They are not animals. They're also not humans, but are a type of people. They have a will. They can choose to be good or evil. You must use your discernment, that internal, God-given, built-in barometer, or instinct, or intuition, or sixth sense, or your gut feeling, or whatever you want to call it. We all have it. Listen to it. By the way, hair turning to wire and standing up on your arms and neck is identical to neurophysiology, to the hackles raised in a dog's back when alarmed. As a person who used to experience savage panic attacks, I am 100% convinced, based on the deceptions of terror described by even the seasoned war zone combatants, that this is identical to panic attacks. For the uninitiated, and in comparison, garden variety fear and anxiety is to a panic attack as a paper cut is to a slit carotid artery. It is a feeling of abject terror, so powerful you feel as if you're either about to die or go insane. It sweeps over you like a tidal wave of black, sinister ooze and can paralyze you physically and suck the breath right out of your lungs. So, if you're in the woods and you feel uneasy, and before you completely freak out, try this. First, stand in your own authority as a sovereign being. If you're a spiritual, wrap yourself with the divine protection. I personally call upon Christ, who has never failed me. Sometimes I think that maybe there is a universal law on this planet that humans are not to be harmed, that most, not all, cryptids obey. If not, then just calmly stand in your own confidence and strength and right to be there. Send out the mental intention to these beings that you are not there to harm or find them. Give it a moment. If you're still getting pummeled with feelings of terror and hostility, then move your butt and leave quickly. But you may be surprised. If your intent is truly one of peace and harmlessness, you may get a return feeling of calmness, or even relief. The Sabe now know you are not there to hurt or hunt them, or their little ones, and may peacefully allow you to go on about your business. This is done silently in your mind, and none of your buddies ever need to know, so there is no risk of ridicule. What do you have to lose? Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking your time to email us. Lauren, we are very, very appreciative of you and your wisdom and your experience, especially overcoming your panic attacks. That's some strength right there, and not giving up. A lot to think about there, isn't it? A lot of common sense. A lot mentioned that has been mentioned in the past, previous. You know, it's one thing when you're strong about the, we're going to the woods and we might be harming them and they want us, they might have some young back there, a family back there, and want us to not go in there and they're protecting them. One thing for me is, if I go in the woods and I see there's a grizzly bear on a kill or something up there, I just turn around and walk away. But, one thing that I'll just add into it, this is confusing for me with some of what you shared, was the fact, when people feel that they're protecting their family or the young in there from us. It sounds kind of odd that instead of revealing their presence to us by coming out and scaring the shit out of us, they outclass us so fiercely. Would it not make more sense for them to just up and leave? I mean, they can put distance between us and them like you would not believe in such a ridiculous amount of time, even the snap of a finger, right? So that's what is confusing to me, is they can outclass us so fiercely and put distance between us and them so easily and avoid detection so easily. Knowing that, why would they make themselves, their presence known to us to, quote, protect a handful of them that might be in those woods, when every single one of them has that skill to just disappear? And they can do that without showing their presence to us. So that's a little confusing for me. And then also, you know, when you say about their hunting, they're traveling, they need the land. And then I can't help but go back to what other people shared with me about the fact that these beings have made it through every single security barrier on a nuclear facility, a military facility, and blatantly stand there and look up into the CCTV screen cameras, basically openly mocking every single person in there. And when the shit hits the fan, the alarms go off, they go outside, they find the footprints right there, and they don't know how they got in, they don't know how they got out. So when that skill is made known to us, anything that has that type of skill, why would they feel the need that they need to protect their young ones and their females from a simple frickin' hunter hiker going in the forest? It says that just doesn't, there's something confusing about that to me. And then of course we have the other items that come in mailed to us from people who experience some crazy shit, like Edgar. And I can't help but non-stop think about Edgar, because speaking with Edgar prior to making his share with all of you back and forth, absolutely incredible. If I had to bet my life on it, Edgar has told us the honest truth. And Edgar watched that being literally physically jumping up and down and starting to become translucent from the bottom up. He saw that. And then Edgar lost time. And when he finally got his bearings correct, when his clothes were on all backwards and missing and the wrong foot, all sorts of stuff, then his cell phone got something like 32 or 36 texts from 32 or 36 different countries welcoming him back into their airspace on his cell phone. You know, stuff like that. There's lots of experiences similar to that just make you go, what the F? And then you take that into account and then apply that to this simple family of beings that need that patch of timber in that valley to survive in as they travel around eating and hunting and acting like a not quite a primitive human, but more of a human group that are still absolutely intimately in touch with our surroundings. And they have the need to come forward to scare off some human beings because they're about to go into some forest where there might be a few of these beings. Well, with the other things that are going on, it just makes it a little confusing. Again, right? You got a being that can jump up and down, basically doing jumping jacks, and start disappearing from the waist up. And then you have the absolute loss of time, hours and miles traveled. And then your cell phone starts giving you back literally dozens of texts from dozens of different countries that you just entered their airspace. It's very confusing. There's a big chunk of knowledge that's still sitting there, not directly tapped into yet for us to try to understand and wrap our brains around, right? It's very easy to accept the fact, it's very easy to accept the fact that there is you can call them a tribe, a group, whatever, a subspecies of human that have successfully been existing in the forests and mountains of various continents and avoiding detection because they are professionals of camouflage, and they possibly are more attuned to their sixth sense to avoid our presence, know we're there. But there's so much more. There's a big chunk of something else that is accompanying these beings. There's a big chunk of something that we just can't wrap our frickin' brains around or even come up with a funny excuse for. The skills and the amazing things that are being witnessed and accompanying to experiences with these beings. I'm kind of babbling here, my attention's getting dragged over here. And I might sound a little off, confusing, but that's what I'm trying to get at. I fully understand I understand exactly what you're getting to. I understand exactly what you're sharing, and I fully agree. But I'm saying I believe there is a big chunk of something else accompanying the facts of these beings that we just can't wrap our brains around it yet. Will we ever? I don't know. I hope so. We're going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing because I want to know. I want to know everything. But anyway, here we go. I got to get my button gear. I got the shops coming together. I'm finally getting wood put on all the walls. I'll show you guys what I've been doing. I got the woods getting up on the walls here. I got a little chunk left in there. Finally got the inside wall done. What else we got in the go here? Still got to get that chunk done. I got behind the freezers done. That wall done, and I'll take you outside and show you what we did yesterday. So anyways, that's what we've been doing. I've been tearing off all the sheet metal, replacing it with the wood, and we've been staining it up and screwing it on. Put new vapor barrier on. So I just got that one chunk left to do. I'm going to paint the hydro line, the hydro box there black, tear off that metal, put new wood there, and then we'll see about organizing this road trip and second wave across Canada. See if we can make life better for ourselves and everyone else in both our countries here in North America and possibly around the world, right? Looks like we're winning. Looks like a slide in that direction. But that's the plan. So now I got to get the ladder, get the tools, get the saw going, and get the rest of this metal tore off, wood replaced, and get my button gear. There we go. Keep sending in your emails, you guys. I'm going to keep sharing them.